what's really happening at Gaza's aid distribution centers? We've seen the headlines. We know that over the last month, hundreds of Palestinians died looking for aid near or at these so-called aid distribution centers. So in today's video, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the deteriorating humanitarian situation within the Gaza Strip. I want to talk about the spread of severe malnutrition in the Strip. And then I want to move on to recent reporting on academic studies that came out confirming that the death toll in Gaza is almost certainly much higher than the official number. And I'll end by talking a little bit about the prospect for a comprehensive peace or normalization deal between Israel and Arab countries, the expansion of the Abraham Accords to include Syria, amid recent reports that Trump is pushing in that direction. And finally, a short update on ongoing violence in the West Bank. So, my name is Rida. I have a PhD in political science, and I'm going to deconstruct today's news from Israel, Palestine, and the broader Middle East. So I'll start with this report on 130 charities, including Oxfam, Save the Children, and Amnesty International, who today have called on the U.S. and Israel to close the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So what is this foundation? It was established to take over aid distribution from the UN, to push the UN out of the Strip and to take charge of the task of distributing humanitarian aid to the besieged Gaza Strip. And it's a shadowy organization, private organization that is backed by the US and Israeli governments. And it has links to evangelical Christian groups. So it's led by the Reverend Johnny Moore, who is a close friend or at least a close supporter of Trump, who has prayed for Trump in the White House, I believe. So it's a U.S.-Israeli operation, and it's run opaquely. And basically what they've been doing is they chose a small number of aid distribution sites, and they've been dropping food there and letting starving Palestinians come. And there's a kind of, this report in 972 has called it the Hunger Games. There's a sort of a frenzy to get this food. And this is, according to Nir Chasson of Haaretz, who spoke today on Haaretz's podcast, this is a kind of, this is completely against the dogma among experts in distributing aid in conflict zones, who say that the aid needs to come to the aid seekers and not the other way around. It's a recipe for disaster, and it is. But it should also be stressed that this is not an inevitable result of the way this aid has been, it has not been an inevitable result of the way aid has been distributed, but rather there's also a report, also from Haaretz, recently confirming that IDF commanders ordered their soldiers to shoot on unarmed, starving Palestinian aid seekers in Gaza. So these are direct orders to shoot, and the soldiers themselves have described using live artillery and tank fire as a means of communicating with the population, which is just a dystopic, horrific sentence, quote. This is coming from the soldiers who have committed these crimes, speaking on conditions of anonymity to Haaretz. So again, these organizations are calling on this reckless way of distributing aid to the Strip to stop. We've seen at least I think this says over 500, but I think it's past 600 Palestinians who were killed in this way near or at these aid distribution centers. Regarding the broader humanitarian situation in the strip, it's severe, with the population severely malnourished. I mean, the aid that does come through in these drops is consists of basically flour and pasta. The Palestinian population has, doctors reporting from the strip are saying there has been no vegetables, no high quality protein in the strip, none of that for months now. And not to mention no baby formula, which apparently has not been distributed together with the rest of this aid in these so-called aid distribution centers. So there's a severe shortage of baby formula. The last thing I'll say about these aid distribution centers is that it's also becoming very clear that they've been used in a political fashion to further concentrate people within a ever narrower sliver of the Gaza Strip. So spatially, by distributing these centers in a very limited number of locations, you're forcing the population of the Strip to move closer to these aid distribution points, and therefore further concentrating the population and facilitating the ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip entirely. This brings me to talking about the true death toll in Gaza. So according to this recent report, again by Nir Chasson in Haaretz, I don't have access to Haaretz in English, so I'll link this English article in the sources, but here I'll have the Hebrew version to help me. According to Nir Chasson, according to recent academic studies that Nir Chasson here is aggregating and reporting on, the true death toll in Gaza is likely closer to 100,000. So the official number that we have, 56,000 people killed, includes only people who are verified, who we have their social security number, or the equivalent of a social security number, who we know their names, and they're victims of direct Israeli military fire. So people who were shot, who had a bomb drop on them, etc. But it doesn't include people who were buried under the rubble. At the same time, it also doesn't include people who died indirectly, people who were denied life-saving treatment, right? So cancer patients. People who have, Nir Chasson today on Haaretz spoke of people who have celiac, for example, dietary needs, for them the severe malnutrition, the lack of adequate nutrition is also counts as a death sentence. If you include all of that, the death toll in Gaza is likely much, much higher than the official 56,000 number. Speaking of Gaza, today there were more aid seekers killed, and there was another massacre at a cafe which was used by journalists because it had internet access. So it was used by, I think, a photojournalist was killed today, bringing the total number of photojournalists killed to something like 230, I think, since the start of the war. So this is the situation today. This is Rafah, the city of Rafah, before and after the Israeli bombardment of it. And again, Nir Chasson of Haaretz stars in today's report, but he was talking on Haaretz's podcast today about the fact that more buildings have been destroyed in Rafah than in Hiroshima after the atomic bombing in the Second World War. So the devastation in Gaza is truly total devastation of Rafah, of other areas, neighborhoods, cities. So we need to continue writing letters. We need to continue pressuring our governments in the West. This has to stop. There's been reports of Trump pushing for the expansion of the Abraham Accords to include Syria in the Accords, to reach an agreement between Syria and Israel, and to reach an agreement that would also include the end of the war in Gaza. I don't think that this is likely to occur. So what happened so far? Syria and Israel held direct talks, and this is something that's quite frequently discussed in Israeli media. So there's also the possibility that the Israeli Prime Minister, as he's known to do, has been leaking and sort of stoking the fire under these reports. So there's been reports about potentially entering into a normalization agreement with Syria. There has been confirmed talks between Syria and Israel, and any agreement would likely be an extension of the Abraham Accords. Is this possible? Possibly down the road, they write, but right now it's nearly impossible. And I share that assessment. While some kind of security arrangement with Israel might be reached, a full normalization deal like the one that was signed between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, I think is unlikely at this point, if simply because of the public opinion, the hostile public opinion within Syria and Saudi Arabia, right? Saudi Arabia is also discussed as a normalization partner as part of this expansion. And so I don't think that a Sharia leading Syria, MBS leading Saudi Arabia, would be able to withstand their public's contempt for such an agreement. Of course, the Syrian and Saudi people are diverse, and there are many who would support such an agreement, but I do think that by and large, after 2 years of ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza, Arab public opinion has, even in these countries, has shifted considerably against Israel. And so full open normalization agreement I don't think is likely. So I do think this is more bells and whistles and more of Trump's wishful thinking. He might be able to pressure these countries to reach some sort of ceasefire, some sort of deal regarding security arrangements, expansion of existing unwritten norms and understandings, but a full deal I think is beyond the reach. The last thing I wanted to discuss, right? So this is the front page of Saudi Arabia's one of Saudi Arabia's largest English-speaking newspapers, right? So this is the kind of reporting that we're seeing in Saudi Arabia about Gaza. This is the kind of reporting that the Saudi people are exposed to. So again, this is why I don't think that Syria are going to be signing an open, comprehensive normalization deal with Israel anytime soon. Lastly, in the West Bank, we have further settler attacks. This is a daily reality, unfortunately. Further settler attacks near Nablus. We're seeing demolitions today, several demolitions. Demolitions and stop work orders near Hebron. Demolition in Jerusalem, home demolition in Jerusalem. Israel forces a Jerusalem family to demolish their own home. So often when Israel declares a building as built illegally, of course without ever granting permission for buildings to be built legally, forcing Palestinians to build illegally, when they issue a demolition order, they usually force the family to demolish their own home themselves. Otherwise, the Israeli authorities would demolish it and charge the family for the cost of the demolition. So this is how this works in the West Bank, truly. Truly devastating violation of people's basic rights to shelter, and quite cynical at that. And this has been the reality, by the way, since much before October 7th. It's been the reality for decades in the occupied territories. And again, Israeli authorities force Palestinians to self-demolish home near Jerusalem. Israeli forces demolish Palestinian-owned house south of Kalkilia. Was there another one? Yeah, Israel demolishes a house and commercial store near Jericho. So again, this is unfortunately a daily reality in the West Bank. And lastly, we have 2 more victims of the Israeli military in the West Bank, including 1 teen. Bringing the total of Palestinians killed in the occupied West Bank since October 7th to 1,000. So I think our focus is understandably on the carnage that's occurring in the Gaza Strip. But in the West Bank, there's been a slow but steady killing of Palestinians without accountability by Israeli forces and by gangs of settlers on a nearly daily basis. So this is something that we also should be paying attention to. Okay, this is the news from today, from Israel, Palestine, and a little bit from the broader Middle East. My name is Rida Aburas. I'm a political scientist in Canada. Like and subscribe. It does help the channel grow, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.